Welcome to the Free Library of Philadelphia. My name is Jen McConnell, and I'm honored to introduce our guest this evening. Jen Sincero is the #1 New York Times bestselling author of You're a Badass, How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life, a self-help book for people who want better lives but don't want to get caught reading a self-help book. She is a success coach and a self-described motivational cattle prod whose work has transformed scores of personal and professional lives. According to her new book, if you want to make more money, it starts with changing how you think about your finances. She draws on her own financial transformation to explain how to vault over the mental roadblocks that keep us from realizing our earning potential. I was terrified to stand up here and speak this evening, but I read, related to, and have been inspired by You're a Badass at Making Money, and so I thought, if there was ever a time for me to get over some of my own roadblocks, tonight was the night. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jen Sincero to the Free Library.
That was fabulous, thank you. You didn't look scared, you didn't sound scared at all. Hi, you guys! There's so many of you, you're so fabulous. My only request is no video, please. You can take as many pictures as you would like, but please no video. I'm so excited, man. Philly showed off for me today. Wow. I think do you guys want to go outside? This is so nice out. Alrighty, so I am thrilled to be running around the country screaming and yelling about the monies. Because it is such an important topic. It affects us every single solitary day of our lives. Even if you don't leave your house, you're still spending money on the heat and the sheets and the takeout or whatever you're doing. And yet we have such a conflicted relationship with it. And usually where there's conflict, there isn't much flow, so it usually means you don't have as much as you would like to have. How many people don't have as much money as they'd like to have? Yeah, so shocking. So the thing is we tend to really focus on all the negative aspects of money. Meanwhile, in our conscious minds, we're like, I'll take all I can get. Like if I told every one of you that I would give you each $10,000 on your way out, none of you would be like, well, actually, money's the root of all evil, so I'm going to pass. So in our conscious minds, we feel like we're cool, but we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on deep down under that I'm going to address, because that's the stuff that's holding you back, and that is the stuff that needs to go bye-bye. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to read just a very brief amount from my book, and then I'm going to talk, and then I'm going to take your questions. So without further ado, go to the reading part of the stage. Okay, I'm going to try this without my readers. I'm really rebelling against them, but they're here in case I need them. Okay. Money is one of the most loaded topics out there. We love money, hate money, obsess over money, ignore money, resent money, hoard money, crave money, and badmouth money. Money is rife with so much desire and shame and weirdness. It's a wonder we can utter the word above a whisper, let alone go out and joyfully rake it in. It reminds me a lot of how we've been conditioned to deal with sex. Another gold medalist in the topics that totally freak people out competition. When it comes to having sex and making money, you're supposed to know what you're doing and be all great at it, but nobody teaches you anything about it. And you're never supposed to talk about it because it's inappropriate, dirty, and not so classy. Both money and sex can provide unthinkable pleasures, birth new life, and inspire both violence and divorce. We're ashamed if we don't have it. We're even more ashamed to admit we want it. We will do things and people we're not nuts about in order to get it. And I know I'm not the only one who has caught myself fantasizing about a stranger dressed like Batman coming up and giving me some on a bench in Central Park. Show of hands, my people? Not so. One of the biggest obstacles to making tons of money is not a lack of good ideas or opportunities or time, or that we're too slovenly or too stupid. It's that we refuse to give ourselves permission to become rich. I see it over and over. The kicking and screaming about how, at the end of the day, what's most important is spending time with those you love, gazing at sunsets, rejoicing in the laughter of frolicking children, helping old ladies cross the street, and other things money can't buy. And I won't argue, but I will ask this. Why the hell does this come up when we discuss the making of money? When did it become an either-or situation? If you participate in the pursuit of wealth, it's not like you shall never again attend a family barbecue, hug a puppy, or tiptoe through the tulips. In fact, if you do it correctly, you'll be able to afford to spend even more time on such merriments and do it in style. Not to mention pay for the gas to put in your car to get to the family barbecue, buy the hot dogs, and show up wearing clothing. Everybody arrives on this planet with unique desires, gifts, and talents. And as you journey through life, your job is to discover what yours are, to nurture them, and to bloom into the most authentic, gleeful, and badassiest version of yourself. In order to do this, as a human being in modern society, on planet Earth, you must be rich. And let me define what I mean by rich, lest you think I'm saying your life is worthless unless it involves a mansion and a yacht. Rich, able to afford all the things and experiences required to fully live your most authentic life. So that's not so scary, right? You can admit you want to be rich without throwing up in your mouth. All right. So the issue is that, as I said before, in our conscious minds, we're okay with this idea of being rich, but we've got all this deep-seated judgment, and honestly, sometimes not that deep, that we're aware of it, that holds us back. So in your conscious mind, if you're thinking, I'm so excited to get rich, I'm going to go out there and do all these things to make it happen for me, but if deep down you believe that all the people you love the most will judge you and leave you because of it, or that you'll have to do things you hate, or that you'll be one of those rich jerks out there, you're not going to let yourself get very far. This is why if you've ever, if you've made a certain amount of money, but you just can't seem to break through to a bigger amount ever, you just seem to hit a ceiling, or maybe you've made money before and you just keep losing it, like you can't keep it. It's there, it's not there, it's there. Or maybe if you're like me, you've just been a broke-ass crazy person your whole life, right? You never even get out of the gate. This is because of this push-pull that we've got going on. So in You Are a Badass with Making Money, I actually plagiarized one exercise from You Are a Badass. I felt totally lame. I was like, I can't believe I'm going to steal an exercise from myself. But it's so good, and it was so sobering for me. And it's the one where you write a letter to money. Has anybody done that exercise? Yeah, it's upsetting. And what it does, though, is it shows you what you've got going on, because a lot of times we're very oblivious to it. And you are having a relationship with money. And if you treated a person the way that you treat and think about money, they would not hang out with you either. So my letter to money went something like, Dear Money, I love you. I wish I had more of you, but I totally don't trust you. And I feel like we don't understand each other. And I feel like a dirty whore for even admitting I want you. So I got to see all this weirdness that I had going on with money, and it was really, honestly, very surprising to me. So what it did was it let me look at my own specific freak show around it, and then I was able to shift out of those negative thoughts and beliefs and really question them and come up with ones that were more in line with what I really, truly desired to create for myself. So when I was figuring all this stuff out, I was in my 40s. I was living in a converted garage, a one-car garage, people, not a two-car garage. Some fancy garage. And a nasty converted garage. Like, there's actually some really nice converted garages these days, but old school ones in Venice Beach, California, not so much. Mine was so janky that my landlord, the building inspector, was coming by, and he wasn't allowed to rent it as a residential property. So he asked me to move my bed, and he drove his Toyota into my bedroom. And the building inspector was like, yep, total shithole. No one's living here. So it was really, really bad and really depressing. And I got to the point where, you know, I hated being broke. I was in my 40s. I hated where I was living. It was really awful. But the reason that one of my big things that I said all the time was, you know, I don't want to make my life all about money. You know, I was in a rock band, and I was a writer, and I was extraordinarily cool, and I had much more noble and artistic things to focus on than money. But when you're broke, what do you focus on all of the time? Money, right? So that's the very unfunny cosmic joke that is played on us. And it actually happens all across the whole scope of human weirdness. So by trying to avoid pain in a certain area, we actually create the very pain we're trying to avoid. So by trying to not focus on money all the time, I kept myself broke, which made me focus on money all of the time. You know, we see it with intimacy a lot. If you don't want to be sad and abandoned and hurt, you put up walls so that you never have an intimate relationship with anybody, and then you spend your life sad and abandoned and hurt, right? So we do this to ourselves all of the time, and I was doing it to myself in the realm of money, and I got really, really sick of it. And not only was I sick of making all of my decisions based on how much things cost, because you know when you're broke, you go out for dinner, you don't order what you want off the menu. You order what is the cheapest thing, whether you even like it or not, right? So there was that. But even more motivating for me at the time was the feeling that, really, Jen Sincero, this is the best you've got in your one and only shot at being the you that is you on planet Earth? This is the best you can do? I was so frustrated and so just like, right? And so this is why I called my books You Are a Badass, because every single one of us knows deep down that we are a badass, right? Like I mean, sometimes it's buried beneath layers and layers of seaweed and mud and whatever, but you've got that shiny light inside of you that just knows that you're totally awesome and it's really exciting. Which is why when you're not being awesome, it's almost physically painful. I was almost in physical pain at this point, and I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. And so I did an extremely, extremely radical thing that many people don't even realize they're not available to do. And what I did was I made the decision to become rich. So first of all, if you want to change anything in your life, you've got to make a hell-bent for glory decision. You can't just kind of want to have it happen. A lot of times we think we've made a decision, but what we've done is we want something. So what that means is you try until it gets too hard or too expensive, or maybe you have a big chance of failing, right? So if you want to get really rich, maybe you go out and you call that person that your mother's been telling you to call forever, who could be a great connection to a great job, and they're not there, so you go off and have a beer and forget about it, right? That's what people do. We kind of sort of do stuff to kind of maybe change our lives. You got to go at it with a 10-ton gorilla of desire if you want to change, right? So I got my 10-ton gorilla ready to roll. And I allowed myself to focus on making money, which, as you see from what I just read, is extremely controversial. I always compare it to going on a diet. If you decided to go on a diet, you would fill your house with really healthy food, and you'd join a gym, and you get a workout buddy, and you tell all your friends what you had for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, like we give a crap. And they'd be like, go you can do it, you look amazing, this is great. How do you think your friends would react if you were like, I'm gonna go out and make ass loads of money this year? You would get the hairy eyeball. So it's a really risky thing to do, to admit that you want to get rich, because everybody has so much judgment around it. But I was so sick of being stuck in my spot that I made this controversial decision. And so with this decision, it meant that I was going to do anything, not anything, but if it didn't make me money, there I go. Basically, if whatever was presented to me was not going to make me money, I was not interested in it. So that's how I shifted my focus. Like, it was just off the plate. So I also started reading lots of self-help books, which, again, remember, I'm really cool. So I was terrified I'd die in my sleep and someone would find them. You know, not the kind of stuff you want to get busted with. I started going to money-making seminars. I did the whole high-fiving thing and walking on calls and screaming, I've got a millionaire mind. Like, kill me now. But I was doing it. I was serious. If it was going to help me, it was going to help me, because I knew at the time, I was like, I am very clear about the fact that I can't do this on my own. I have been trying for 40 years, and I still live in a garage. So I gotta do things differently. And this is something that we forget about. Everything that you're doing right now has gotten you to where you are. So if you want to change your life, you have to change what you are doing. And, you know, these books that I was reading kept saying this over and over and over. I was like, fine, I'll do all the weird stuff. I don't care, whatever. And the other thing they kept saying is you've got to change your thoughts, beliefs, and words. I heard this over and over and over, and I was like, come on. Change your thoughts, beliefs, and words. Like, that's great, but where's the real thing that's going to make me make a lot of money? Right? It can't be that hard. What's the big, mysterious, hard thing? Change your thoughts, beliefs, and words. And it made me really upset, because I was like, I just spent 40 years living in a garage, and all I got to do is change my thoughts, beliefs, and words? Come on. But so I did. And I started to really pay attention to what was coming out of my mouth, and I realized that pretty much within 5 minutes, no matter what we were talking about, my mantra would come up, which was, I can't afford it. I would say I can't afford it all day long. And I was like, well, perhaps I should start with, I can't afford it. Perhaps I should change that up. So instead of saying I can't afford it, every time I wanted to say I can't afford it, I forced myself to say, money flows to me easily and freely. Money flows to me easily and freely. I clung to it like a life raft, right? Because I was drinking the Kool-Aid, thoughts, beliefs, words. And so what this did, it was really cool, you guys. The whole thoughts, beliefs, words thing, totally true. What it did was, it took my focus off I can't afford it and put my focus on money flows to me easily and freely, which is so important, because as human beings, we love nothing more than being right. We love us some being right. So if I'm constantly saying I can't afford it, I am spending all of my time consciously and unconsciously proving that I can't afford it. I'm a freelance writer. You cannot make money as a freelance writer. The economy totally sucks right now. I am 40 and I live in a garage, okay? I cannot afford it. And so what this did is it built up the blocks of the foundation to my reality. I kept adding stuff to it to make me right and make this real. But when I decided I was no longer psyched about this, and I changed to money flows to me easily and freely, then I started putting stuff together to make that true and real. So I changed my focus. Instead of looking for proof of that, I started looking for proof of this. And at the beginning, I'm not going to lie, it was a little trickly. You know, I found $5 on the street the other day, easily and freely. I got that weird job out of the clear blue sky. That was kind of easily and freely. So I started finding proof of this. And it's kind of like when you're looking for a place to rent, and then all of a sudden you start seeing for rent signs all over the place, right? Have you ever noticed that? It's not because people are like, well, Jen needs a place to rent, so let's help her out and hang up some signs. Everything you need right now to change your financial reality exists right now. The people you need to meet, the opportunities, the money itself, the brilliant idea, it's all here right now, filing its nails, waiting for you to wake the hell up. Right? It's waiting for you to shift from proving this to money flows to me easily and freely, or whatever your trip is. And wake up and start to look for it and start to see new things. Okay, so that's why the thoughts, beliefs, and words are everything. The other thing it does is it changes your frequency. So when I'm lugging around the dead body if I can't afford it, I'm not in the mood to do a lot of big things, right? It's just this big, heavy weight, but money flows to me easily and freely. Okay, let's do some big things now. It gives you the energy and the excitement to push through the challenges and blocks and fears when they show up. It is not if they show up, it is when they show up. You need that energy. We are energetic creatures. We are creatures who are motivated by emotion, right? Our logical brains are great, but how many times have you known in your logical mind that something was a really bad idea, but it was going to be super fun? So you did it anyway, right? Happens all the time. That is the life force. That's what gets us moving. So when you focus on what you desire instead of what you fear, you give yourself the energy to go push through the terror barrier, as we like to call it. So my particular terror barrier came in the form of a coach when I was at one of these money-making seminars. And a lot of times they would have people speaking on stage who were coaches and selling whatever they're selling. And I didn't really know. This was 10 years ago when life coaching just got started. And it was even more like, do you have a degree? Who are you? What is this weird thing? But anyway, this woman helped women entrepreneurs with their finances. And she had her electricity turned off in the past, and now she was making multiple six figures. And I really resonated with how she spoke, and everything she said was just like, doing, exactly what I needed to hear. And I talked to her after she got off stage, and she really liked me, and I really liked her, and we really wanted to work together. And then she told me that her fee was 1/4 of my annual income. Now, I wasn't making any money at the time. But 1/4 of your annual income is 1/4 of your annual income, right? So at this moment, I can't afford it would have come in real handy. But I had made the decision that I was changing it up and money flowed to me easily and freely. So what this did was it forced me to, instead of looking for a pile of excuses as to why that was so irresponsible to pay somebody 1/4 of your annual income, a life coach, are you kidding me? Right? I could have so easily excused my way out of that and been, patted on the back by all my friends and family. Like, that was a very, very smart decision, Jennifer. Right? It would have been so easy. And not easy to justify spending 1/4 of my annual income on a life coach, especially when I was already in debt. But that's what a decision is, guys. Like, the wanting only gets you back to the excuses. The decision makes you go from piling up excuses to piling up ideas on how the hell you're going to pull this off. And so I piled up a bunch of ideas on how the hell I was going to pull this off, and the best one I came up with was take out another credit card, which I did. I can't believe they gave it to me to this day. But I paid her, and then I threw up, and then I called her and begged her for my money back, and she said no. And she also said, this could easily be the most important money you have ever spent. And I was scared out of my mind, but I did everything she told me to do, and I ended up tripling my income in 3 months. And this is what I'm talking about with the scary stuff. You have got to do the thing that scares you if you want to change your life. If you take one piece of advice away from this evening, do something that scares the crap out of you every day that will lead you in the direction of your goal, and your life will change so fast you won't know it hit you, right? Because that fear is, we've been trained to run screaming from fear and avoid it and not trust it, but the fear that leads you in the direction of your dreams, it's the same kind of feeling, and you feel it in the same part of your body as you do excitement, right? Like it's almost the same exact feeling. It's like terror and excitement are the same. It's like terrcitement. So you want to be feeling terrcitement. Because if you are not scared, you are doing something wrong when it comes to changing your life. Because that means if you're not scared, you're in your comfort zone, which I actually like to prefer to call your familiarity zone, right? Because our comfort zones are usually extremely uncomfortable. You know, I was in a garage sitting on a couch that I found on the sidewalk. That was not comfortable. And literally and metaphor, whatever. But yeah, we'll stay in abusive relationships because they're familiar, right? We see that all the time. So you've got to be willing to face the unfamiliar. And it's so interesting. Human beings are so terrified of the unknown. It's such a primal fear, because what's the big unknown we're the most scared of? Death. Meanwhile, death could be totally awesome. Anybody gonna prove me wrong? We have no idea. We have no idea. But yet we will avoid it at all costs. We'll avoid the unknown at all costs. We will stay in the familiarity zone that sucks and keeps us back and makes us sad and unhealthy, rather than risk the unknown. It's so silly. Meanwhile, everything you desire is in the unknown, because if you want to change your life, you have never experienced what you're changing into, which means it's unknown. So you have got to become pals with this fear, and you've got to see it as a compass that is directing you towards your dreams, as opposed to something that you should run screaming from. Okay. All right, I'm going to check the time, see where we're at, 'cause this is usually where I have to cut myself off. This is right where I need to cut myself off. Okay, you guys, so I am super excited to take your questions. And but before I take your questions, sorry, psych! I'm going to answer one question that I have yet to not get whenever I do a talk, and I've been doing these talks for a very long time, and it comes up every single solitary time. So I'm just going to I just answer it now instead of waiting for it. And it is the question where someone asks me, what do you do when you're ready to change your life and you're reading all the self-help books and you're doing the scary thing, and the people closest to you do not support you? How many people want to ask that question? Yeah. So the reason this is such a common question is because when you decide to change your life, if you decide to get rich, if you decide to lose the weight, if you decide to get married and have a baby, if you decide to quit the job and start your own business, you're basically killing off your old identity, a part of your old identity, right? And the people you hang out with love you and are very upset that you're killing you, right? This is why the person across the street who doesn't know you at all, when you tell them you're going to start your own restaurant, they're like, that's awesome, good for you. And your mother and your spouse and your best friend are all like, well, 9 out of 10 restaurants fail. You're going to lose all your money. Like, you're like, Joe Schmo is happy for me. Why can't you be? Right? You're supposed to love me. It's because they have a lot more to lose than Joe Schmo. And the other reason is because when you change, you are basically holding a mirror up to them saying, if my crazy ass can do it, so can yours, right? Because we tend to hang out with people who are a lot like us, who are at the same level. They say if you take the average salary of the 5 people you hang out with most, you'll find yours. And this is also a great way when you're trying to discover, like, what is my weirdness around money? Start listening to how your friends talk about it. Because I guarantee you, you guys are having conversations that you're all like, that's so true. Right? You're all, water seeks its own level, so they're a very good indicator of what's going on in your mind. So you hold a mirror up to these people who are just like you, and it is showing them that if you can do it, they can do it. And I don't know about you guys, but I've really offered lots of unsolicited advice in my life. It's never popular. I can't believe it, but it isn't. So by changing, you are basically offering them the information that if they can do it, that if you can do it, they can do it too. And when people are not ready to change, they are super grouchy to hear about it, right? So that is why it happens. And what I recommend doing is don't share your hopes and dreams with the people closest to you who are not going to support you. And I know sometimes this is easier said than done, especially if you're married and it involves money and decisions. And sometimes, if you're really serious about making radical change, you need to end those relationships because you are unauthorized to spend your one life on planet Earth as the you that is you shrinking and not doing what brings you the most joy and blossoming into the biggest, badassiest version of yourself just to make somebody feel better about themselves, right? And the other thing is you got to go out and make some new-ass friends. And so in the old days when I was doing the money thing, none of my friends were into it, and they were all looking at me like I was losing my mind and joining cults and things. So I basically paid for new friends. I really did. I would go to these seminars. You know, I had to pay entry to get into them. And also when I hired my coach, she was the person who saw so much more for me than I ever saw for myself, who did, 18 cartwheels every time I opened my mouth and did something great. Nothing was impossible, right? And that cost me a very lot of money. But it's really, really important, guys. The people you surround yourself with help to form your version of reality. And when you're changing it, you need all the support you can get because you have plenty of your own doubt, fear, and worry to contend with. You do not need theirs as well. Okay? So.
I've read both of your books, and I did all the exercises. And I am in transition, and one of my friends actually keeps calling me a badass, and I'm like, I'm not there yet. So I'm at the point where I have these mini meltdowns around spending money, even though I'm earning money enough to, like in the supermarket, I had a meltdown the other day because I was spending $58. And it doesn't seem like that's a lot of money, but in my transition now, 58 is not really that much, but a few months ago, that was a lot of money for me.
Okay.
So how do you keep your, I have quotes from your book, and I have flashcards.
Rock on, you are a badass.
But I have to do a lot of self-talk and
Okay,
and
good.
how do I but I still feel a little stuck.
That's a great question. You are building a new muscle. This awareness, this growth, this motivation, this new being you are becoming, it's like a muscle. And this is why I talk about going to the spiritual gym, which you are clearly going to, which is the affirmations and the reading and all that stuff. But you got to give yourself time to grow into it, right? So you're doing scary things too. You're pushing yourself. You're creating more income. Yeah, you're also you're removing the rut that has been your truth your whole life, and creating a new one with these new affirmations and all the work you're doing. So patience. I hate to say it because I hate patience. But it really is, and you keep doing what you're doing, and you keep pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, and you also surround yourself with people. Do you have people that have healthy relationships with money, who make money and spend it freely because they know that we live in an abundant universe, and when you're in the flow, it goes and comes in a very easy flow? Do they know that? The people around you? Most know. Okay. That is your new homework, is to surround yourself with people who get it and aren't freaked out about it and have an ease with it and totally understand that money flows to them easily and freely. Okay.
Is it possible to retard yourself by jumping into the fear before you're ready? The reason I say this is with a supportive group, I made a leap to move to New York. I was terrified, and it turned out to be the worst decision of my life.
Okay.
I thought I knew what poverty was. Oh my God.
Okay.
The only thing it gave me was a lot of empathy.
Okay, so here's the thing. You get to screw up. Nobody gets to the top of the mountain without falling flat on their faces over and over and over again. And I don't even know if this is a fall flat on your face because you have no idea what's going to happen tonight as a result of this move. The most amazing thing in the world could happen to you on your way out the door tonight, right? So you don't know. And as long as the emotion is there and the excitement is there and you've got a specific goal that you're going towards and it's like, I'm going to take this leap, that's all you need to know, okay? And you do it, and it can be shaky along the way. Yes, it may be the wrong decision sometimes, but you don't learn anything if you don't get in the game. So big round of applause for getting in the game, lady. You know what I mean? That was brave. That was brave, but you keep looking for signs, and you keep moving towards your goal, and you keep going to the spiritual gym, and you keep watching your thoughts, beliefs, and words, and you will get there. What?
What's the guidance for when you're writing a book, and it's specifically for being on the New York Times bestseller?
That's why you want to write it?
No, because I get excited by that, and I need to be excited.
Okay, well, here's what I say. Just write the best damn book you can write. There is no magic formula, but the thing I will say, I have found in my books, they're always better when I write something I'm terrified to write that feels like a stretch, where it's like, oh, I could totally get called out on that, but I believe it to be true, so I'm going to say it anyway. Help. You do not have to give all your secrets away and have no private life at all, but I think it's more about the scary, big thoughts that are controversial, or the stuff that's kind of scary to say. I have to do it all the time, and I'm just like, oh man, I am going to get buried alive by that one. And there's going to be people who will try and bury you alive, but then there will be people who show up and watch you speak on stage. And the more authentic and daring you are, that's what draws people to you, because everybody's freaking out. And if you pretend you're the all-knowing, wonderful, clean, blah, 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 no one's going to read your book. Yeah. Congratulations.
There's a line in You Are a Badass at Making Money that I really like, where you say something to the effect of, if you want to get rich, you're going to have to do things you've never done before, and you have to be willing to be really uncomfortable. And I was wondering if you had any advice to sort of power through moments when you're really uncomfortable.
I do. So it's what I call going to the spiritual gym, and I've been touching on it, but I would love to get very specific on it because it's so incredibly important. So it's a muscle, and the discomfort is a new space, and you need this new muscle to keep you going, to keep that energy up, because again, we're energetic creatures, don't forget. So you have to come up with a workout routine to keep that muscle strong, right? So for me, it was reading some sort of self-help book every morning and at night also. When I was hardcore going for this money thing, it was every morning, every night, half hour. I would read for 10 minutes. I would meditate for 5 minutes. I would say my affirmations. I would go hiking a lot. Nature is a big, big part of my power toolkit. Music is hugely important to me. When I was really serious, I put a moratorium on listening to Neil Young. I did. I love Neil Young, but he's so depressing. And I needed the fire, right? So it was all Led Zeppelin and Donna Summer. It was just like pumping me up. But you got to figure out what pumps you up and get specific about it and know exactly when you're doing it, and it becomes a habit, and that is what helps you stay the course, because you will need that.
Hi, Jen.
Hi.
Thank you for your humor and your creativity and your zest. You bring so much to the world, so I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My question is, you have a course online, and I'm curious, are you going to be coming out with one for the second book around financial? And if you are, or maybe you're not, I don't know. What would you want us to make sure we really pay attention to?
If I come up with a chorus?
For the money,
For the money book?
Yes.
I would like you to pay attention to signing up on my website. Because then you will know that the course is being offered. So seriously, you guys, if you are interested, jensincero.com, put your email address in, and I hardly ever email, but if I do a course, you will be the first to know. And if I did do an online course like that, I always start out with a live version of it, because I gotta say, I miss the group coaching. I miss you guys so much. So I guess what I want you to know is if you sign up for the first round or 2 rounds of this course, you will get to be coached by me live.
If you were a weatherman and you were forecasting when that would happen, do you have
When will it happen?
Yes.
You're going to have to ask my architect, because it really depends on when we knock down the wall. I'm doing my house first, and then all things.
Got it.
So
Okay.
I don't know, but
Okay.
thank you for
I'll see you.
caring. Yes, great. Okay. How about heading it right behind you to her?
Hi, Jen.
Hi.
I listen to your book when I take walks in the park, and it's awesome.
Excellent.
The audio is awesome. My name is Elena Deutsch, and I started a business last year called Women Interested in Leaving Big Law. And you're part of my inspiration. It keeps me going. And one of the things my clients, and me too, as I work on my own money journey, my own stuff, is the difference. You said something about want tonight, that want isn't going to get you there. And can you talk a little bit more about the difference between want and desire?
Yeah, well, first of all, an interesting thing, if you study language, to want for something means lack. Think about that, right? So if you keep saying, I want this, I want that, you're basically focusing on the fact that you lack it. So if you're like, I'm getting this, it's happening, it is already here, is all about abundance. So that's sort of the grammatical Latin version of it, if you will. But the energy behind wanting similarly is, it's not a decision. A decision, Latin again, means to cut away. So when you decide, you cut away all other options. There is no option excepting the one you are focusing on. And it really is that moment when you desire, when you are serious, you've made that decision, you start to look for ways to make it happen instead of excuses for why you shouldn't do it. That really is the shortest answer to that.
Hi, Jen. Thank you.
Hi.
So kind of piggybacking off the former comment, so I was a corporate attorney for about 5 years, and I left.
You guys should totally get a beer.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah. I didn't know about her. I left Big Law, but I left to start my own business helping other women entrepreneurs with the legal side of starting their own business.
Okay.
So it's funny because one of the things that I hear the most is I could totally relate with your story, like lost so many friends and acquaintances when I left. And I think the thing I hear the most is how risky people think it was leaving. But to me, it was actually riskier to stay.
Right. Is there a question?
Yeah, so
Okay.
sorry. So,
No, I'm sorry. We're running out of time, so I'm going to
yeah, so I just wanted to ask you, because I think being an entrepreneur, having to deal with the instability, just like every month to month, and kind of dealing with the mindset around money and feeling confident and comfortable that it's going to come to you again. So I was wondering if you have any advice around that.
Well, this sort of speaks to the idea of safety and having a safe job, right, as opposed to working for yourself. And I think safety is hilarious because we are on a ball in infinite space. So there is no safety at all. And the fear that because you're on your own and you're at the helm and you don't know what's going to happen, that's real. But again, where are you going to place your focus? Like we could all be freaking out right now that a truck is going to drive through that wall. Could totally happen. Probably won't, I hope. But we could be sitting here so freaking out about that we can't even focus on anything. We're just going to sit here and sweat and start to smell, right? But what's the point of that? Right? Does that answer your question? Is that so where you're going? Yeah, it really is about a choice, guys. Every moment of every day, you have a choice as to what you're going to focus on. And when you get this is a thing that's so fun. I really, really feel like I've been let in on a magic trick. because it's so stupid easy. It's so stupid easy. You can focus on the truck and freak out about it or not. And then what you choose to focus on, you start to live in this other universe. It really is that stupid easy. So make good choices, guys. Oh, Lord, you're all so beautiful. You guys choose. I can't choose.
I guess my question, well, first of all, I want to say thank you because you're the only self-help money book that actually gives practical tips.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, you know, there's the money books, the finance books, but then
Right.
there's also the like, just believe in it and you can
Oh, the
achieve
woo-woo
it.
tips.
The woo-woos, yes.
Okay, I'll take that.
So
okay.
I guess my question is, who is your financial BFF? Like, who is the person that inspires you financially to keep pushing?
My editor. I do have new friends now who I still have a lot of my old friends, thank God, but I have a lot of friends who exist in financial realms that I haven't even come close to, who are just like, sure, come on up, it's super fun up here. But I also am not as interested, you know, everybody, and here's the thing with money, guys, like I really mean this, you don't have to make billions of dollars. I do not believe that at all. You get to live your life however you desire to live it, and it's so important to take the time to get clear on what that means for you. We don't do it. I mean, I never did it until I was in my 40s to really sit down and be like, what would make me really, really happy? We just sort of go through day by day, putting out fires. You know what I mean? Take 10 minutes and sit down and think about what it is that will light you up, and then figure out how much it's gonna cost. And then demand of yourself and the universe that you manifest that money. Because you got one go round, guys. But it really starts with taking the time to think about that, you know? And we need to do this over and over because I know I'm 52 now, and I don't want the same shit I wanted in my 30s. Like, I do not want to be in a rock band again. I'm tired, you know? So you can't keep going on autopilot. You got to come up with new things. And I've got so many projects now that I am so excited about that I never would have been excited about back then. But take the time to think about it, because once you get clear on the specifics of what it is, then you can go out and create it.
So I've done a lot of the work. I have a routine. I call it my accountability. I go through it. I'm coming up with one of my blockages, and I find that I get so excited about these things. I've written my perfect day, but I get scared of where the money's going to come from. Mm-hmm. Almost in a way like, oh, I have these checks, and I'm like $50,000. I need $50,000. It comes to me. It flows freely. But then I get nervous and blocked about like, well, what if that means something happens to like a grandparent? Or like, what if the way that comes to me is like in a negative capacity?
What if it's a positive one?
Totally. But I mean, I guess my question is, and I bet more likely that it is, but I guess my major question is, do you personally maybe have an affirmation or something that you say or think or do to move past?
Money comes to me in joyful and positive and easy ways.
And just don't even question that it could
Joyful,
possibly
positive,
come
and
in a
easy,
different
happy
way.
ways.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
adjectives
you.
are good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so I have a question kind of on the woo-woo part.
Question what?
Like the woo-woo part.
Okay.
So you are doing these affirmations. Are you standing in the mirror and smiling at yourself?
No, you must do them in public.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
So, because I admit, I mean, I bought it. I haven't read this one yet. I read You Are a Badass, and it is speaking my language as far as discovering connecting with the universe that way.
Well,
but I still feel like an idiot.
Okay.
So
You're totally on the right track then. So with affirmation, let's just talk. Everybody's brought up affirmations quite a bit. So I really want to stress that when you write an affirmation, it has to have meaning for you. So it has to call up some emotion. Again, it's all about emotion, guys. So money flows to me easily and freely did not feel true. That's not what you're necessarily going for, but I was psyched about it. And I could imagine the flow because I was learning about how money is currency and currency is energy. And I was like, okay, it flows to me easily and freely because I was so not easy or free about it. So those words really resonated with me. So just make sure it resonates with you and brings up some kind of emotion. Like that's also why in You Are a Badass at Making Money, the mantra that I said over and over is I love money. Because that, I don't know about you guys, but that made me throw up in my mouth when I said that the first time, right? I love money equals you are a really bad moral-free person. So as long as it brings up something and then it'll turn, but it's that excitement that you've got to get. And you can say, I say mine a lot when I'm just walking down the street, like just in my mind over and over, under my breath, in the car. I'll say one right now. No, but anyway. Yeah, wherever it works. Okay.
So I started a consulting company, and I think the main thing holding me back is serious imposter syndrome. Every time I feel like I'm about to hit send on an email, perfectionism turns on in my head, and then I'm like, this email sucks. Why would they believe me? Why are they going to do business with me? And it stops me like every time. Okay. Help.
That may never go away. Hit send anyway. Do it anyway. Because here's the thing. You're gonna have people who think you're an idiot. I have people who think I'm a total idiot. And then I have people who don't. But you'll never meet your people if you don't hit send. And there was a reason that you wrote it the way you did, probably because it was true for you and it came out and it was this sort of flowing thing. And then you're like, holy crap, now I'm visible, help. That's what it's more about. So yeah, just hit send, be brave. It's all about being brave, guys. Getting rich is not hard, it is scary. Right? Hitting send is not hard, it's scary. So you're scared, that's a really good sign.
Well, at first I want to say thank you because you'll see when you sign my book, I literally have pages folded in for like every single, like something happens in my life, I read the page. And my favorite story is the one you tell about the Honda and the Audi in this book. And that, like, I use that story. I did a whole project on it. I go to Drexel. I did a whole entire project on that single story.
Did you make a diorama?
No, I didn't. I did. I like drew the car and I put like the skyline of Philly in the background and it was all like really like symbolic for me. But anyway, I wanted to know like what happened after that for you and if you're gonna be writing any more books anytime soon.
That's two questions. Yes, it totally changed my life, actually. So what she's referring to, if you haven't heard the story, is I was, pushing myself financially, stretching, and I needed a new car, and I went to the Honda dealership and test drove the car that would have been the reasonable car to drive, but the Audi dealership was across the street, and I was like, let's take it for a spin. Like, they don't have to know who I am. I'm never going to buy the damn thing. And of course, I sat in it, the angels started singing, and I had a sexual relationship with this car. And I had to have it, and then I realized this is everything I'm talking about. I don't want to be the kind of person who settles for what she can get. I want to be the kind of person who creates what she desires. And the Honda would have been settling for what I could get. And Hondas are great cars. I am not bad-mouthing Hondas. But at the time, the Audi was so much juicier to me. And I stretched and I bought it. And I ended up paying it off much more quickly than I know I would have ended up paying the Honda off because I had stretched myself and I'd stepped up and I'd done the scary thing. And it raised me to another level. Money is currency and currency is energy. And I got into a higher frequency with my financial beliefs because of the Audi and it changed my life. And of course I'm writing another book. I have to.
Thank you.
So much to say apparently. You guys, thank you so much. We are going to